Thanks for joining us for the January 20th, 2023 episode of Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. I'm Dennis, and I'll be your host as we recap the latest super news that caught our attention across the multiverse. But as the show title suggests, it'll probably mostly be Marvel. Later in this episode, we'll be putting a spotlight on the 1987 Dolph Lundgren film, Masters of the Universe. Yeah, we did that. But before that, we'll be getting in some QA with the gang that agreed to watch that movie with me. For those of you tuning in, don't be shy. We love hearing from you in the comments. And if you can't get enough of us, you should visit patreon.com/DanXmedia, where you'll find a variety of creative offerings, including recent episodes of our live after show, The Soapbox. Patrons get exclusive access to chat with us. But if that's not your thing, don't worry. We release them to the public at a later date. There. I got all the formalities out of the way. Let's get everyone out here. First up, he's the Bucky to my Steve. It's Ricky.
Ooh, does that make us lovers?
I don't know. Does that make us lovers?
Depends what sites you read.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Definitely not the comics, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're comics.
Last week it was the Royal End to my Harmon, and you didn't like that one, so I was trying to be a little nicer.
I'll take this one.
You'll take that one. All right, that's fair enough. Cool. And then let's before we chat, let's get our favorite dungeon master and part-time Santa Claus out here. It's Brian. You know, the beard is not as big as it was the last
I shaved the beard. I don't look like as much of a hobo anymore.
The thumbnail I used for you, though, it was
wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
It was yeah. I like using old pictures of people to like make them be like, "Hey, change it," and then I'm like, I may or may not. I don't know. I don't know if I feel like it. Welcome back, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this, and I think we'll just get it out of the way. Thanks for making us watch Masters of the Universe, Brian.
Hey, I proposed 4 movies. You picked the worst.
Oh, okay, wait. What were the other 3?
Tank Girl, Flash Gordon, and...
Oh, yeah. No, I was down for all of them, honestly. But, like, you were leaning towards... You said you were leaning towards Tank Girl or Masters of the Universe.
I'm in a movie with Flash Gordon.
And The Crow, I think, was the other one I suggested. So...
Yeah. All 4 of those, by the way, I promise we will do probably this year. Those are all really high on my list. But we ended up just like, I know
the worst.
So last week we did Catwoman, and I know we actually ended up speaking favorably of Catwoman, which was a surprise for me because I'd never seen it. It was a surprise. Ricky had never seen it. Frank had never seen it. That was a wonderful little thing that happened there where we just didn't know. None of us had ever seen it.
It's like those jelly beans, like where you get the shitty ones mixed with the good ones.
Yeah.
Like I
got you a shitty one. Don't worry.
But I think this time around, when you were like, I kind of really want to do Tank Girl, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to be that podcast that it's just like, let's find every shitty female-led movie right away. But don't get me wrong. I actually like Tank Girl. I just don't want the reception. I didn't want the reception to be that. So like, we'll get to Tank Girl. We promise we will. But we bit the bullet and we watched Masters of the Universe. So you can say it was my executive decision, but you put it out there into the world.
I did.
You did.
Frank Langella's favorite role.
You know what? God bless him for doing that, though. Like, I really, I'm not gonna knock him. I'm not gonna. No. But you know what? It's not time to talk about that movie quite yet. Like, we will get to that later. I just wanted to say, thanks, dickhead. But no, we will. That's like a little tease as what you can get later in the show. But for right now, we can just chat it up and see like what are you geeking out on? What's your nerd obsessions right now?
So the TV show that I watched that I think just wrapped up a couple weeks ago that I really enjoyed was Willow. I don't know that we've talked about Willow in any of our other. Ricky, is that you didn't like it?
I've never seen Willow.
And well, I know we have a mutual acquaintance who didn't like it because they were using American accents, and apparently dragons are okay, but
that was pretty funny.
In British accents.
Shout out to Coker for being the most racist person in the fantasy universe I could ever imagine. I will say, like, I started Willow. I loved the first episode. Tried watching the second episode. My wife fell asleep, and we haven't found time to go back to it because, like, I tried going back to watch the second episode again with her, and she was not feeling it again. And I'm like, okay, maybe Willow's just one I watch because I loved it. I really thought it was cool, but I haven't gotten past the second episode. So
I will say it's very it's unusual in that they do a lot of experimental things in the show that sort of traditional fantasy doesn't do. And my guess is at least that's in part because it's not coming from a series of like 50 books and encyclopedic knowledge. So they can, it's not Lord of the Rings where you have people shrieking that they, got the color wrong on the tabard for Isildur or something.
You know what's funny about that is that's going to tie in really well to the conversation later because I think there is something to say about a fantasy property that has the freedom to do whatever it wants because it's not beholden to like lore that everyone is like, absorbed.
It's not beholden to the toys.
Yeah, it's not beholden to a lot of things. There are Willow toys, by the way, but they came after the movie,
right? Sure. And it's not a property that's been sort of culturally relevant in the way that a lot of other nerd properties have been for the last 30 years.
Willow is just the movie, and that's it, and that's all people had. And some people like really swear by that movie, and others just don't even remember it. So,
you don't remember the follow-up, the Men with Hats safety dance video, right?
I don't remember how that tied into Willow.
It's basically just them traipsing through a medieval village. It looks like it's a Willow backlot.
Fair enough.
I like Willow Smith, the singer. Where does she tie into all of this?
Well, good night, everybody.
They whip their hair a bit,
Okay.
No, I will say in Willow, the sort of almost all the actors in it are fantastic. But the guy who plays Borman is just he steals every scene he's in.
That guy's great, dude. That guy's
for great. Somebody who's replacing Mad Mardigan, which is arguably one of the best characters of the 80s, and I will fight people who disagree. That is a hard thing to do, and he goes above and beyond.
In fairness, though, like Val Kilmer played a bunch of the best characters in the 80s. Like Val Kilmer was the shit in the 80s, dude. Like, he's great. He was great. So I promise I will go back and finish that one because I did really love it. I love Warwick Davis. I thought he made me laugh in the second episode. Like they were doing his humor, and I was like, I forgot that he had done like a show with Ricky Gervais for several years, and like
pretty funny in that show.
He's got some pretty damn good comedic timing, and I was really impressed. I don't remember that from the old movie, but he's probably in a very different place, as far as confidence goes now versus then. What about you, Ricky? What else? What do you got?
Well, it's playoff sports ball season, so that was a big part of my weekend.
Sports ball.
Won't go there.
How the Chargers do?
They did really good for part of that game. And, the other part, not so much. But I watched The Last of Us on Sunday. We whipped it up at 8:00 when it premiered. I think I like the show better.
I always knew the show would be better. Honestly, Yeah, say
Pedro
what you,
Pascal is the superior Joe or Joel.
Joel.
Yeah, like it. I don't even need to see more.
I think the biggest difference in like, and I have a very personal bias. Like, I worked for PlayStation during the time when they made The Last of Us. I was a lead tester there, but like I didn't have a project at the time. So whenever we didn't have a project, we would go and help out other leads with their game, and we would do specialized jobs. And so the job that I had was to help out as doing speed runs on The Last of Us. So I can beat that game faster than most human beings can. I have beat that game so many times. Like I could beat it like 2-3 times in a workday.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I've absorbed that story so many times, right? Because I'm not like a douche. I don't like listen to music while I'm playing or anything. I'm supposed to be like paying attention to the game, right? So I've heard the story a million times. I cried in that show when I watched that show because like it hit me harder than the game ever did, and it's because yeah, I mean that acting's amazing.
Do you
But
know
I
who
also
the
cried.
daughter is?
What?
You know who the daughter is? Joel's
No.
or that's Dandy Newton's daughter.
Oh wow,
Is it?
cool?
Yep.
She was awesome. She really sold it for me. I think I kind of cried like it was like a halfway tears of sadness and a halfway tears of joy because like I've never seen a more accurate uh translation from a video game to a movie or a show, and it just made me really appreciate like the game that much more because it's like, dude, the game actually totally choreographed that entire truck scene,
Mhm.
like all of it. And like I appreciated it when I watched it in the game or when I played it in the game, but like seeing it in live action was so much crazier. Like it was bonkers, man. So yeah, I really loved it. I'm looking forward to watching it, more of it. My wife actually, like, she has a very stressful relationship with that game. Like, it just gets it's too much for her. Like, it's like, zombie stuff and anything like that just gets on her nerves. So like, she hasn't watched it yet, but she knows the game front and back also. So it's like I'm like, you can watch this. It's fine. Like, there's barely any.
I mean,
It's not a lot of violence.
it's less violent than the game for sure.
Well, I mean, in an hour, in an hour of the game, you could get to a whole lot more violence than
there's
that
no
show
murder
did.
gameplay mechanic in the show, so it's by
Yeah.
extension there's less of it.
Yeah.
But I did that, and then I started dabbling into sports cards again. So I did some of that last weekend. Then I'm going to a sports card trading expo in Long Beach
man.
in February.
I think you gotta figure out how to do some better investing because you're gonna go down. I'm speaking as a person who has drawers filled with collectibles. You need to get out.
I mean, that's aside from the comic books I got to get graded too. So
get out while you can. Do it. Before we move on, I will tell you the thing I nerded out on this week. I set up a 1-week free trial to AMC Plus, which is like a new version of AMC's app, like that actually is a hub for several other things like IFC and Shudder. And I was like, what the hell? You have Shudder? Like I watch Shudder one month every year. I just give them a subscription for a month and then like I'm out because I just watch everything. But now I'm like, I could just have it through this. That's really cool. But anyways, I did it only because I really wanted to watch the Interview with the Vampire Show. I saw the first episode that they let you have a taste of it on Amazon Prime. And I watched it a few months ago and I was like, this is the best, gayest thing I've ever seen. And I just, for some reason, I just felt like having vampires in my life this week. And so my wife and I binged the whole damn show. And then we rewatched the movie. And the movie kind of sucks compared to the show, man. It really, the show is amazing. And like they make choices that in 2023 they can do that they could not do in the 90s with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. And it's pretty cool. It's awesome. Highly recommend that show. Also watch the Mayfair Witches, which I don't highly recommend that show. Like I thought it was going to be cool, but it's not. And then other than that, I kind of tapped out on that app and just like there's Portlandia, Garfunkel and Oates, and I don't know.
Quality.
Right.
Yeah, there's not a lot for me to watch there. There's a whole Walking Dead hub though. I found out there are 3 new Walking Dead TV shows coming out this year.
3 new ones, or there are
3 new ones.
So that puts it up to 4 now. How
So
many are
there's
there now?
That's 5 now.
The Walking Dead's
I thought the
over.
main one's canceled. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
over.
if the main one's over, then they
Fear the
spun it
Walking
off into 3 separate ones.
Okay.
Okay.
But there is a 5th one that's called like The Walking Dead: The World Beyond.
It's like the anthology show.
No, that's the 6th one.
Oh.
No, the World Beyond is actually one where teenagers have been like confined to a compound for like 10 years, but they finally break out. So this is them experiencing the Walking Dead universe 10 years after the apocalypse.
So it's Fallout.
Yeah, basically, but with teenagers. So it's a teenage skewed show.
Okay.
So there's the World Beyond, but then there's also Rick and Michonne. There's a Daryl. Daryl has his own show.
Yeah.
And then Maggie and Negan have their own show.
I thought Negan was a bad guy.
Dude, they spun him
I
a long time ago.
I checked out after season 2, the fucking whale zombie, right? And
I don't remember a whale
they
zombie.
pull a zombie out of a well.
Oh, a well or a whale?
A well, WELL.
Oh, well.
A
Okay.
well. Sorry.
Got
See,
it.
I was imagining like a zombie eating its way out of a whale. I'm like, all right, maybe I need to go
I
back
mean,
and
if it
watch
was a
that.
whale, I would be down. But Walking Dead game, Telltale game, the best of those stories for me.
So you had a problem with them pulling a zombie out of a well?
Yeah, because it was dumb.
All right.
A walker, actually. Sorry, we got to get the terms right.
Let's move on because I don't really feel like delving into that one. You got news for us, Ricky?
I got some news for you.
All right. I just want to say before you do this, I'm waiting to hear a specific piece of news, and I'm going to be angry if I don't hear it.
I only have 2 pieces I contributed to this week.
All right.
So.
All right. Let's hear it. There it is.
Avengers. The Square Enix game is coming to an end. So let me read the quote for you. After 2.5 years of introducing 12 of Earth's mightiest heroes, following update 2.8 on March 31st, we will no longer be adding content or features to Marvel's Avengers. All official support will end on September 30th, 2023. Our boy's being put down.
Praise Jeebus. Here's the thing. I saw this news and I said, Ricky better goddamn put it in the show tonight, or I'm going to be pissed because you know what? This was one of the first things we talked about when this show first started 2 years ago. This game and how much we were so disappointed in it. And then somehow
we weren't
kept coming
disappointed
back
for the first month, though.
Yeah, but this game had already been out for like 6 months by the time we started our
Yeah,
show.
for sure.
So we were already bitter. And then over the years, you just kept finding news to give us. And I would get angry at you.
Well,
and
they
I'd be
got
like,
up to 12 characters.
I'd be like, Ricky, why are you still giving us this game as news? I don't understand why you keep bringing it up. It's terrible. You know, the really shitty thing about them, like praising themselves for like the 12 characters in 2.5 years. Yeah, that actually sounds like a good average, except for the fact that 6 of them came out at the start of the game. So what you're really saying is we put out 6 characters that all pretty much play exactly the freaking same in the span of 2.5 years.
There was some like drama with this. I mean, the first setback was the Chadwick thing because they had that Wakanda stuff done
No,
And
that wasn't
yes,
the first. That wasn't the first setback. The
but
Hawkeye stuff was supposed to be out within the first month of that game
Yeah.
releasing. That was the first sign that things were off the rails.
well,
Then
didn't Kate Bishop came first, right?
the Spider-Man, that is Hawkeye. I mean,
Okay.
sorry, I mean the Hawkeyes, whatever. The Spider-Man thing was supposed to come a month after the Hawkeyes. Instead, we got that like a year later. Like,
And weren't some of the characters still locked to console exclusivity too?
Spider-Man.
no, just Spider-Man.
Just Spider-Man? Okay.
But it didn't matter because he didn't come out for like a full year of that game.
They are doing the right thing though. They will be stripping out the paid store in the game.
All the purchasables will become free to all
Mhm.
players, and I thought that was a pretty
That's
cool
nice.
gesture.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
cool thing.
Yeah.
They are gonna keep. You can still play it. It's not like it's getting shut down. They're just not gonna do anything after September.
No more support after September 30th.
So
Yeah.
I'll still say probably one of the better campaigns.
Campaign is awesome.
Campaign solid.
The campaign is no more than the campaign is like 3 to 4 hours long.
But always a bummer. It's a shame when a game titled The Avengers shuts down.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously a misstep when that happens. But
There was many missteps, but yeah. Let's hope we get another version of this somewhere down the line that's actually fun. I
Yeah.
honestly, like, if you've ever played Gotham Knights, it's so much of what this game promised to be. I love that game. It's like I've been waiting to. I beat that game a while ago, and I've been waiting to just go back again, just so I could platinum it, just because it's way better than this.
Maybe we'll see some of these characters pop up in Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Oh God!
Which is getting everyone's favorite Merc with the mouth as a DLC, Mr. Deadpool.
You know what?
Marvel's Midnight Suns.
I will go on record on this, Brian, and I know you're further in the game than me, but like, I have to force myself to play that game. And honestly, like, when I do, I can't make it long enough through all the crap they want me to do to get to the part where I get to play the actual game. So I end up quitting. And then I'm like, what? Why did I do that game just now? Like, I think I hate this game more than Avengers.
Yeah. No, I'm at the point where I log in and I realize I need to go to sleep and then have to do all the romance sim bullshit the next day. And I'm like, nah, fuck it. I just want to do a mission, play some cards.
And by sleep, you mean your character has to go to sleep.
Right.
You can romance him.
Yeah.
No.
That's so terrible that you have to put your character to bed in that game. I don't understand it. Like,
he is there's Deadpool's part of the season pass, which is $39.99, right? And it includes Deadpool's first, then you're gonna get Venom, Morbius, and Storm. So
I watched the trailer. It's cute, but like, it's so misleading because the action in that game is not action. It's just not. Like, it's very, I don't know.
They just showed the attack animations. Yeah.
Just go play Mario Rabbids. It's way better.
If you wait long enough, maybe it'll get shut down and he'll be free. So
well, I already paid for it, so it doesn't matter.
He's extra. Free. You don't get Deadpool. So
I do because I paid for I paid for the
special edition.
The special edition. Yeah. So I know I have a Deadpool. Well, yeah.
Let's check out some more stuff Dennis is gonna pay for.
Okay. Oh, this is shit I already paid for. I just put these in here because I think I'd mentioned these before in a previous episode, but the new version of the Gamerverse Spider-Man from the upcoming Spider-Man 2 video game, he's actually on the newer body that I think, Ricky, you actually purchased figures on this body. The new superposable Spider-Man body with
I got the one.
But he's actually got articulation in the toes, if you notice too. This
he's
version of that's a lot of people. I've been seeing articles about like Hasbro, you're out of your goddamn mind.
45 smackers.
No, 35.
35 smackers.
$34.99 this guy's retailing for.
You can get him or Deadpool.
And they don't even have the decency to give him 2 thwip hands. Are you seeing that? It's only his right hand. And if you look in the accessories, there's no left-handed thwip hand. And it's like, come on, guys, come on. So he comes with like every single web effect that they've ever made ever. So that's kind of cool. And he bends at the toes. But I don't know why that justifies a $10 increase. He's exclusive, so he's limited to fan channels. So you got to buy him like online only. So I'm like, why $10 more? I don't understand. You don't even have to put him on shelves.
I did pre-order him as well. I do like this costume.
I knew you would. See. And then there was one other one that came out or for pre-order this week. It's the Fantastic Four Franklin and Valeria 2-pack. It's really cool, and it makes me feel like I haven't read comics in a long time because goddamn Franklin and Valeria have grown up. They
I
are
was gonna
like,
say, weren't they like toddlers?
geez, man, it's been a while since I've read some Fantastic Four because these are full-on adults, and they come with a moloid head of their friend. I think it's Turg. I don't even know who that character is, dude.
Damn,
But
Valeria has 6 hands.
It's
yeah,
gonna be
Valeria
what everyone
comes-
wants from Marvel movie in
Valeria comes
2026.
6 hands and a bunch of reused parts of other accessories from characters that they've released in the last year. The flasks are from Beast and the Lizard. That head piece that head canister is actually from, they just put out the What If Ant-Man head from the zombie episode where it's just a head in glass. They're just reusing the glass from that. It's pretty funny. It's cool. Like, it makes me really want to go and read some comics because I'm like, it's like real children, right? It's like when your friends have children and you don't see them often, and then you're just like, oh my god, how old are you now? You grew up so fast, like that's how I feel looking at these comic book characters. It's so weird to me. But anyways, I think that's all the Marvel Legends I had for this week for pre-order.
We had some news from our guests, though.
Oh shit!
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it you said a minute ago about goddamn Hasbro?
Dude.
Let's pick that up. So for those of you who are not the kind of nerd who plays Dungeons and Dragons, you may have noticed this week. I don't know if either of you saw that. Like MSNBC and CNN and all the
shit was going down.
channels were talking about what's going on with Dungeons and Dragons. So
Can I just interject? I know you and I are old. Do you remember when the last time the news channels when we were kids used to talk about Dungeons and Dragons?
Like Satanic Panic.
Those stories were so different from what they are now. This is such a corporate world we live in. It's so capitalist. It's so nuts.
Well, it's also the fact that, it's a multi-billion-dollar brand now, right?
Exactly.
So, like 1980s, you could shit on Dungeons and Dragons if you were a congressperson because it was only played by very weird people in very dank places out of sight of decent folk.
Yeah.
We still do that.
Is it Wizards of the Coast? Right?
So
is that how it goes?
Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, which owns Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, yeah.
And this all kicked off towards the end of last year.
WotC didn't always own them. They bought it a long time
So they
ago,
bought it
right?
from TSR, which was the company that Gary Gygax, the creator of the game, founded.
Yes.
Yeah. So Gary sold, he got pushed out in the mid 80s and TSR sold to WotC, and then WotC got
I think third edition's the first version that was WotC, right?
I think they bought it after. I'll have to go look at my books and see if it's got the TSR or the Wizards.
I think third edition is WotC.
So,
that stands for Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the game sort of took off during the pandemic, and they had a business meeting in the fall, and they said, "Look, it's an under monetized brand." Meaning, which you never want your hobby to be referred to as under monetized, right? Because then prices are about to go up. And I think they looked around and they saw the popularity of the game and how many people were playing it and how much money they were making, and said, we can do better. And so at the start of this year, a memo leaked in terms of what they were going to do to kind of monetize it more. And the big thing they did, and this gets a little technical, but in right around 2000, in the middle of third edition, they basically open sourced the rules, or sort of open source the rules, and anybody who wanted to could take these rules and make games, which cool. And you got hundreds of new companies and people entering it. This is one of the big bumps in role playing in the early 20th century. And then the pandemic kicked this into high gear, and you got even more companies that were making D&D adjacent material, but Wizards wasn't getting a cut. So they came out and said, we're going to claw back this open license, and we're going to change the terms of it. We're going to make people pay us money to use it now. And even small creators are going to have to pay us money. If you want to get like a tattoo, you're going to have to sign an agreement, right?
Yeah.
Basically, they went full Disney with the copyright. And the fandom wasn't having it. They basically erupted in anger. You guys know, right? We use Roll20 and D&D Beyond to play our game. Well, subs to D&D Beyond apparently reached the five-figure, unsubs reached the five-figure mark at some point last week.
Did you cut out, or was that my headphones? Rick, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, they just started hemorrhaging money, and earlier this week basically said we're listening to people. Yesterday they came out with a partial walk back, but I think there's been a lot of speculation about what's going on here. Most of their competitors sort of banded together and said we're going to ditch the old rules and create a new one. And they together probably represent a not insignificant portion of the market. And then there's just negative press. And they do have the movie coming out in 2 months now. And I think it's probably safe to assume that figured into this as well, where the next boycott that people were calling for was to boycott the movie. So they saw some real numbers move on the subscriptions. So they sort of backed away from this, and yesterday came out and said that maybe they're doing Creative Commons licensing. I've read some of it today, and it's not really clear that they've thought this through. But and the fandom, for its part, isn't backing down. People are still pissed. So we'll see what happens.
I see both sides of the argument, right? You're used to having the thing pretty open, but it is a business. Right.
Well, so the thing is the original document basically said it was perpetual and irrevocable in the granting of these rights. Mm-hmm. Now, it never has gone to court for challenge, as far as I'm aware. But for somebody to look at that, and you've got companies. Remember, this is 23 years ago now. So there's companies that have been around for 23 years. Mm-hmm. They've grown using this resource. And to now be told, including the second largest probably tabletop gaming company, Paizo, now to be told, no, you can't do this anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the fandom, I think the other thing to keep in mind when we talk about D&D as a product is how many D&D books do the two of you guys have?
None.
Yeah?
I have 3.
You have 3, right?
Or 4. I have
right?
two Monsters Manuals.
Actually, no, I do have one. I have one.
You have one. Dennis left his third one at your place?
Yes.
But you don't need the books to play the game. You just need one person with it, right? So the people who tend to buy the books are the dungeon masters. They're also the ones who tend to create content through this license. So not only were they sort of pissing off a lot of these other companies, they're pissing off the people who were actually buying their product. Yeah. And so it's a bad miscalculation. And I think at least part of it has to do with the fact that Wizards brought in non-gaming executives, people who didn't understand the industry. They brought in an ex-Amazon person, and I think they just don't get how this works. So
excuse my ignorance for this, do they not have like a subscription service where you get access to all the stuff?
No. So the Wizards was very, very slow to sort of modernize and come to PDFs. And they only basically started doing it when it was apparent that most people at that point were getting their books through sort of pirated PDFs. And they continue to kind of adopt this model where if you subscribe to D&D Beyond, you then have to buy each source book individually at almost full price. So if you want to get like everything that's current in 5th edition, it would cost you thousands of dollars on D&D Beyond.
Like, it just seems crazy to me. Like, it's not. I feel like because we use Roll20 to play our games. Like, I know it's easier said than done, but just create your own Roll20, make the Dungeon Master tier subscription, and then the player subscription, and that just seems like an easy win.
Well, and I think that's probably where they are headed. They're not right. So on the one hand, hiring an Amazon exec means that you are going to get in those directions faster, but you have to do it in a way that doesn't upset sort of your consumer ecosystem. And right now they sort of pushed forward because the leaked memo also made a lot about the virtual tabletops, and they didn't really walk back any of their things about virtual tabletops. So it made it pretty clear that they want to kind of squash all these other applications that are out there and make it only their platform that gets used. And then the other thing that they had that pissed people off in there was their part of the subscription they were talking about was virtual AI DMs. Dennis is like, excellent. I can't wait.
I mean,
virtual AI DMs. What are you?
Yeah. Like a chatbot DM. You wouldn't have a live person.
DMs.
Yeah, artificial intelligence dungeon masters.
I wouldn't be
No, I
opposed.
understand. Okay.
Like
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, like think about it. You have your own little system, right? And then, hey, we got the D&D movie coming out. Let's make some movie specific campaigns that you can play on our subscription service to get you hyped up. But
yeah, you're talking more like a choose your own adventure, right? So
I guess, yeah. I mean,
yeah. But I think honestly, I think that's cool. Like, I mean, that's what Skyrim is, dude. Is just an AI DM, and I spent hundreds of hours in Skyrim. AI DM is not the worst thing ever.
But Skyrim, how many other role playing games reach that level of sort of storytelling, right? So there's you're not going to get the Skyrim AI DM. You're going to get the
you could
Pocket
literally make
Heroes mobile port,
like the Peloton of D&D, where you like hop on and you get like the celebrity DM. All right, so we're gonna be pitching ideas all night.
If you've never played it, go install the Amazon Alexa skill for Skyrim. It's oh no. No! I was trying to whisper.
You just fucked up.
Whoa!
All 10 of our viewers.
Over 7,100 people. Alexa, stop. See what I did there? And I just ruined it for anybody who's watching this on without speakers. Yeah. See what I did? I'm sorry, guys. Honestly, though, that app is so fun. It is the simple version of an AI Skyrim DM, and it is stupid because it's endless. It's endless, and you only ever get two choices which way you can go, left or right. Each one is very well described. Then you encounter a monster. It's one of like 7 different ones you encounter every time you play, and you fight it. You can use your shout, you can use your weapon, or you can use magic. And that's it. And it just keeps going and going and going. And it's pretty cool, man. I'm just saying.
Man, what I'm getting from this conversation is I'm putting way too much effort into prepping.
Yeah, you do. You do. No, but I love it. I love you for it.
As someone who's been playing with ChatGPT, that is the direction we are going with all of this.
I honestly I appreciate the human element so much. And that's why I haven't been playing RPGs on video games lately, because I'm like, no, I get my fix, every Monday night. Which, by the way, this whole Hasbro mess has made me question why I've been recording every session we've ever done in the last year. I thought I'd one day produce some cool video for everyone to see. Maybe it's a patron exclusive.
Blackmail material trial. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Evidence in the trial for us.
It
I
is.
say
It
blackmail,
is.
yeah. So
It's Exhibit A for sure. So maybe I'll just delete it all. No, I won't. I'll never delete it. You can all rewatch it. You just recover my laptop after I die and just sit back and watch all the stupid
Oh, we're gonna have
adventures
to.
that we tell.
clean it off first. So
Yes. Yeah, definitely wipe it off for sure. You know what? Speaking of D&D, Brian, I think it'd be a good time to go into the Q&A that I got set up for you. I found people know you're showing up, and we always say you're our favorite DM, our favorite dungeon master.
oh,
Sorry.
no.
So there may be some
All right.
questions out there on the internet for Brian. So,
I'm just going to assume they're all from Coker.
Oh, you'll never know. You'll never know. How do you nerd? That's you like it. You like it, Ricky? That's the name.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How do you nerd, Brian? So I got some questions for you, and I just
All right.
be answered by myself and Ricky as well. But I think they're just really fun questions on the topic of RPGs. So here we go. At Hingle McCringleberry, what's your favorite pen and paper RPG and video game RPG? Why?
I mean, I'm going to have to say Eclipse Phase for my favorite pen and paper RPG because I created it along with Rob Boyle. So, and if you're curious, it's all Creative Commons. That's Eclipse Phase. But it's the genre of RPG that it is probably my favorite, which is sort of conspiracy and horror, very Lovecraftian. We set it in the future, but other versions like Delta Green is a game I would love to find a group of people either to run for or play with, where it's basically X-Files, but what if it was also a Cthulhu conspiracy?
Brian,
yeah.
Do you think that you would have more fun playing an Eclipse Phase campaign with us than D&D?
With you guys? It would be weird. It would be weird. Let me put it that way. There's a lot of things you can do in Eclipse Phase that I think you would find creative uses for.
Sell me on it.
Well, first of all, you can swap bodies. So
yes,
the character is basically digitized consciousness. So you could be an octopus. You could be an uplifted gorilla. You could be basically a spider tank.
Can it be a single cell organism?
No, I don't think you could.
I mean, you can. You can just be a giant amoeba. You can be a distribution of like swarm bots. And unfortunately, I'm realizing now we also, for the sake of realism, had morph a body that's designed as a small child. So I know what Dennis would be. Creepy cool. Chucky.
That's pretty cool, man. I'm down. Let's do this. Let's kill our D&D characters next week. Let's do it, and then we'll pitch Eclipse Phase to everybody. Because I would love to play the game that you actually developed. That'd be really cool. I think that'd be fun. And then I can tell you how shitty it is when I'm
D&D.
Oh man, I wish I was playing Dungeons and Dragons right now.
Fucking turd. Yeah.
I know, right? Where does he get off thinking he's as cool?
Should charge for this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Make too much money.
And just curious, Ricky, I know you haven't played many pen and papers, but favorite video game RPG?
I guess Fallout. I've always been keen to Fallout just because I'm not. We've talked extensively on my not fantasy taste. Yeah. But I'm trying to think. I mean, D&D with you guys has been like my one true D&D experience. I tried to get in, like, I don't even know what it was called, like a Star Wars one. Back like in middle school, maybe.
You gotta be careful. Some of the Star Wars versions were not good.
So my first pen and paper RPG was Star Wars, and I was the Jedi Master Barry Lincoln.
No. Your first one was D&D, I thought, with Longjammers.
No.
Oh, was that? No. Oh, okay. That was after.
No, Barry Lincoln
R2C3
was my first character. That was
Turd
my
Ferguson.
first and possibly my greatest. Turd Ferguson was not in that game. That was a D&D character. And that was
I thought that
Caleb's.
was his
That was
smuggler.
Caleb's.
Yeah, that was Caleb. I thought that was his smuggler.
Oh, you might
that
be
he
right.
had. Yeah,
you might be right. You're right. Fair enough. Anyways,
Greg.
I want to play Eclipse Phase one day, but let's move on to the next question. At Harry Fodder, what's good advice for someone DMing their first campaign? Brian's laughing a little bit right there.
Yeah. Well, Harry, I'd say probably the best advice I can give you is to talk to your players and figure out what they want out of the campaign. Like I'm running a couple right now, and there's one group that very much likes sort of a complex narrative with lots of role play and NPCs. And then I have a group that basically wants to engage in inappropriate acts with every NPC they encounter. And sort of,
I want to play with those guys.
Yeah, those guys have fun.
Yeah, and see it more as an opportunity for sort of stand-up improv hour. So figure out what your players want out of the game before going into it, because otherwise they might flip the script on you.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. This next question goes right into what you were just saying. At Madison 96, there's a Y in there and 2 N's, but not where you think. What's it like playing with Dennis and Ricky?
Well, I mean, so obviously they're both into that very kind of complex role play. They get deep into their characters. No, they're. Let's see. I think Ricky, if you give his character something, it's going to get thrown at the next thing they encounter. And
that's very true.
And Dennis has discovered the beauty of the bard and the fact that it makes a much better sort of social manipulator of NPCs than anything else he's tried.
The best social manipulator is the bard. I'll never not play a bard now.
I think if we do continue with this, are there like Wi-Fi dice I can purchase?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, there are.
Okay, I think that's what I'm missing.
Today.
Like,
the virtual rolling.
I need to roll them.
You want Wi-Fi dice? That's fine.
So they come in a little. So you have to roll them in a little box
little tray.
that's connected. Fair. Yeah, and so they use sensors on it. But yeah, I have no idea how expensive they are.
Like, because like I've been to a few PAXs in my day, and when you pass by the D&D side there, I always get a little jealous. Like you guys got a bunch of cool shit. The big old coffee table with the inserts and the cool towers and stuff.
In fairness,
I only make you roll. I roll the dice here. So
yeah, well, I did have the die on like the first campaign. I have a giant D20 that came with my Hasbro Drist figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The one, yeah. But yeah, I realized I actually kind of like Roll20. But in fairness, that's probably because I've been rolling dice my whole life, and so even before D&D, and I'm kind of over it. I'm just over it.
Well, they understand that, right? You could do the thing where it throws the dice across the screen. So
yeah.
We save that for when it's lots of dice.
Ricky, definitely follow up in the soapbox to let me know how much you're spending on these Wi-Fi.
If I sell some of these comics, I can probably buy like one.
Nice. At Fork Knife Goku, when did JRPGs get so lame?
Ooh, spicy. It's a hot take there. I don't know. Are they super lame?
Do you still play them?
Let me pop open.
I've never played one.
I want to say yeah, but I'm looking here, and the answer is actually nah.
I agree, man. I haven't played, like, every time I try to go to one, I'm like, ew. I don't know, man. I don't feel like they grew up with me.
So I'm realizing, yeah, all the JRPGs I played recently are reinstalls of old things. Like I got Saga and Romancing Saga and Final Fantasy up to 13, which is always where it loses me.
13's bad. I hate 13.
13's linear for like 6 goddamn hours.
My friend told me I had to put 30 hours into that game before it gets good.
It's
And I
not
was
fun.
like,
Yeah. I think that's probably part of it. Is I don't know.
The grind is real with the JRPG, man.
We were talking about the Avengers game earlier. I don't know what's happened to Square Enix. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Aren't they trying to get sold or not get sold?
Yeah, they're selling off their parts.
yeah.
Anyways, sorry. I just wanted to.
Now you bummed me out. Like, damn it.
I'm sorry, but that was.
Yeah, if you want an RPG, buy American.
It's so true though. Right now, no, not American, just not Japanese. It's not. It's not just saying American.
It sounds problematic when you say that.
Hey, no. Eclipse Phase is big in Japan, actually, which is like the most 80s thing I've said.
Well, now I'm wondering if Eclipse Phase is garbage.
I've got a stack of. They've got a role-playing magazine there called Roll and Roll, and I've got a stack of them that carried a bunch of Eclipse Phase one-shots. So,
Lunar: The Silver Star Story is still one of my favorite JRPGs.
I remember you played the hell out of that one summer.
I love that game. And
is Pokemon a JRPG technically? I don't like it either way.
For 2-year-olds, I guess.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Star Ocean 2. Oh, that was the shit.
That's a good one. That's a good one too. At Jeff Doxworthy, I heard you watched the 80s Master of the Universe movie. Who lost a bet? God.
Like we're being set up for something here.
I feel like we all lost a bet, guys.
Yeah.
Let's go. Apologies for leaving that banner up, but yeah, that's that question is correct. We watched 1987's Masters of the Universe this week. The motion picture, I should clarify.
Event.
They want you to know that it's the motion picture. Yeah, I guess spoiler warning if you haven't. I don't know. Like, do you need? Like, not really though.
There's like a statute of limitations there.
Yeah, we're gonna spoil it because I mean, well, it spoiled itself really. But but yeah, I'm just gonna give a quick recap of this movie before we go into it, so that
please,
people who need some kind of refresher, whatever. Here's the fancy write up for this one. Masters of the Universe, the motion picture, is a 1987 American superhero film directed by Gary Goddard, produced by Yoram Globus and by Menon Golan, and written by David Odell. The film stars Dolph Lundgren, Frank Langella, and then a bunch of people that you don't know, and Courtney Cox.
In her first film role.
Yes. And you know what? Meg Foster's in it too. And yeah. I remember when I watched this movie, I'm like, oh yeah, Meg Foster used to be a thing in the 80s. She was everywhere all the time. Yeah, it's based on the Mattel toy line of the same name and tells the story of two teenagers who meet He-Man. I should clarify, two teenagers on Earth who meet He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe, but really from Eternia, and his friends who arrive on Earth by chance from their home planet, which barely featured in this freaking movie, and go on a mission to save the universe from He-Man's archenemy, the evil Skeletor. Dude, this movie, August 7th, 1987. I don't remember where I was, but it wasn't in the theater, I don't think. I was not super excited, but I did see this eventually. I think the problem is like convincing my dad to go see these movies. Sometimes there's like a limit to what he's willing to go watch, right? And it's like Dolph Lundgren running around sweating in his underwear for the whole movie. Not really a good sell unless he's in a boxing ring.
See, yeah. I was old enough that my dad was fine dropping me and my friends off at the theater to watch it. So.
Yeah, fair enough. But so the thing is, like, I think I wasn't alone in the amount of kids that didn't get to go see this theater or in theaters because it it failed badly in the box office. 17 million worldwide against a budget of 22 million. But somehow it is now regarded as a classic cult film.
That's what people just say to be polite.
That's
I know,
what
right?
we call Stockholm syndrome from having watched USA Up All Night for
That was a lot
20
of
years.
Well, walk me through real quick, just because I obviously wasn't alive and I skipped the whole Masters of the Universe wave.
Okay, just
Where
to be
did this
clear,
movie? Oh, good.
in the 1980s,
Mhm.
He-Man was the shit.
Like, where did this movie come out in relation to like the He-Man boom?
Towards the end,
Towards the end, like it was
G.I.
actually
Joe is
it,
starting
it
to
was
supplant it.
it was actually just past its peak when this movie came out. So I wish I wish the movie would have come out like a year or two earlier. I remember that when I was a kid because I was already a little over
Yeah.
He-Man, and it's because they had just completely oversaturated the market. Like there was so much He-Man product that was
So many
all just
variants.
just redecorations of old characters that you already had, and you're like, can you guys calm down? Like there was so much He-Man on store shelves by that point that it's like people just kind of got over it. And funny thing, like I actually was watching the documentary about the entire franchise of He-Man today. It's called The Power of Grayskull, the definitive Master of the Universe story. And yeah, they were saying how like the company had just completely mismanaged the product to the point of they started the movie with all the leverage, and at some point in the middle of the movie, as sales were tanking in their toy line,
Yeah.
they got a lot more flexible with the director and writer taking liberties because they were just hoping that this movie would help revitalize the brand. And they're like, yeah, I guess He-Man's with a gun is okay. They're like, maybe it doesn't matter
I
if
liked
the
He-Man with a gun.
maybe it doesn't matter if the villains are
Because he couldn't fight with a
existing
sword.
characters. Maybe we could just make new freaking characters. Maybe people will like the new ones better than the established ones.
This is
Oh my
before
god, it's
Turtles, right?
bananas.
Yeah.
What?
This is before Turtles.
Okay. All right.
It is before Ninja Turtles, and I think that actually is kind of why like Ninja Turtles was such the sleeper hit, right?
Yeah.
Is because
it
people
did
were
it
so
right.
scared. People were so scared to see it, but when they started going to see it, they're like, "Oh my god, this movie's amazing!"
Yeah.
And it's because we've been traumatized by movies like Superman: Quest for Peace, Masters of the Universe, even the GI Joe movie. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
Remember the
Yeah.
G.I. Joe movie?
it was not live action; it was animated.
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
But it
was
was released in theater, or it was planned to be released in theaters, but then I think it still did get released in theaters. But the problem
limited,
is
I think.
they made giant edits to the film right before releasing it, based on feedback that they got from Transformers, and so like
That's the Serpentor film, right? Where
yeah,
he's the new bad guy. And...
no, he's already been established in the universe. But it's the one where you find out he's from like Cobra Law.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and he's Attila the Hun.
It's terrible.
CNA.
It's terrible. It's terrible. But like this He-Man movie, like yeah, I mean it's really called Master of the Universe because the brand is called that. But honestly, all of us who grew up in that time, this is the He-Man movie.
Yeah.
It's the He-Man movie, but like the reason I liked He-Man was like that universe was so weird. Like
Yeah.
every time you see a drawing of the background of Eternia, you're like, what is this place? It's so crazy. It's like a fusion of like fantasy and sci-fi, and like people are running around in loincloths, but they got like laser guns and stuff. And you're like, what psychedelic like nightmare did this come from? But I just want to see it all the time. And when when we
Yeah.
found out that there was going to be this movie, the promise was there. But the problem is when you see the trailers and you're like, why are they on Earth? Maybe that's cool that they're on Earth. Oh, wait, it's not cool that they're on Earth for the entire movie. And
Yeah.
that was the biggest pill to swallow again yesterday when I was watching this movie. Is it's like, Oh yeah, it's He-Man battling people in a guitar center. Like, what is that?
I watched it hours ago at work, like, during my work from home time, and it's basically Thor. It's
Uh,
100% Thor.
Much worse. So, yeah, I wanted to. I took notes as I watched it, right? And they start off with the fight scenes are bad, the special effects are bad, the costuming's bad, the dialogue, right? Everything is bad. And I'm like, this film is bad, but I remember liking it. And I remember watching it every time it was on USA or TBS because this was as good as it got, even though it was bad in that 80s and 90s. And I think if you'd shown somebody like me Thor, the new one, then we would have went, oh my God, this looks amazing. Somebody cares. And for these films, and we'll probably talk about it, they lost funding halfway through. And they still finished it. They were just like, fuck it, we'll do it in a dark warehouse.
Yeah, for sure. It's really weird because like it's so easy to knock all the things you listed, but like honestly, there's something to be said about the fact that it's like all practical effects, except for like the portals that were like drawn in there. But like that Gwildor can die in a fire and rot in hell for all I care.
You don't like New Orko?
But honestly, though, like that's a really cool creature. He's a cool looking creature, and he's really there, and they're really acting opposite him. And like his little Yoda hobble that he had, like that he lived in, that's also all real. That's all real stuff there, and like that's a lost art, man. That's not like that level of makeup and set building that they did in that movie. Like even though Eternia is only in the movie for maybe 5-10 minutes tops,
the throne room set is amazing.
The throne room set is really cool looking, and Gwildor is cool looking. That's all I'll say.
I didn't have any issue with how any of them looked. Even Skeletor, like his weirdness kind of grew on me.
I think that worked for Skeletor for what you were working with in the 80s.
My wife hated it so much. She watched this movie with me last night, and she was upset because she knows, not even ever really watching He-Man, but she knows that Skeletor
he's green.
is a skull. It's a skull. Yeah. It's a skull. And so she's like, why does he have lips on top of his teeth? Like she was like, she's so mad watching his face move like flesh, but it's a skull, like, and I was like, this is pretty funny because like for me, I kind of like it. I think like that's the best they could do.
It's like
that's the best they could do in the 80s. You know what I mean? So like,
but like they all, I mean, He-Man,
and he sells
He-Man, Beastman looked like Beastman.
Frank Langella as Skeletor sells the shit out of that. I don't know that Beastman looks like Beastman, but he looks
I don't
like
know enough Beastman to like correct you. He just looks like a hairy Beastman. So
I would have liked him to be orange.
He was brown.
He was brown. Yeah. Everybody was the dirtiest version of themselves. Like
that's why we had a fight in a junkyard.
I kept wondering if Teela and Man-at-Arms were like Deadpool at the end of Deadpool 2, where it's just like, did you just get in like a giant fire and that's why your costumes are all completely gray? Yeah. Or is this like an actual choice you made to be the gray characters next to He-Man?
Although I'll say they put more effort into the bad guys than the good guys, clearly.
Okay, the bad guys were badass looking. Like even though it is offensive to me as the child in me is like, who the hell is Sauron, Karg, and Blade? These are not toys I ever had. I don't understand why they did this.
If you would have watched the movie, you would have got them.
Recasting it, I mean, you got to have Merman in there, right? Who are your other two?
By the way, I did watch the movie, and I did not buy them because I'm like, you're fake. You're fake characters. Yeah, like knowing now that like it had to do with Mattel actually being on board the studio's like suggestion to be like, hey, why don't you let us create new characters, and then that way you don't have to. And then they're like, hell yeah, sell us new toys, thanks. And it's like, but that is like the worst way to pay. Like, can you imagine if the Ninja Turtles movie introduced random monsters like Toka and Razor?
I mean, the Transformers movies kind of did that.
I know, but the first Ninja Turtles movie did not do that. You know what I mean? Like that's why people hate the second one so much, and they love the first one because the first one did a lot to pay tribute to the source material, but still make it a living, breathing thing. Masters of the Universe is a multiverse. It's like an Elseworlds of He-Man. You know what I mean? It's like it's the He-Man you've never seen before because you've already seen the one you've seen, so why not see a different one? And that's like it's a hard argument to like get behind, but it's a hard argument to refute too. You know,
Are
it's
you
like
arguing that it's sort of intentional that they went in these directions and not just that it's Hollywood that doesn't give a shit about the source material?
No,
Probably with A
it
or
is
B,
intentional.
right?
Like the director had a very clear thing that he was trying to tap into, and it's just not what Mattel's vision of He-Man is. You know what I mean? But he ended up with enough control to get to do that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I don't knock him for it. You know, like
I mean, it felt
he
cohesive. I don't think.
yeah
yeah,
I
but
have
is it a He-Man? Like, is his vision a He-Man vision? Right. I think knowing
Yeah.
a little bit about
No.
canon, they often had people come in and sort of write scripts for sort of broad concepts, and then they pitch it, right? So
yeah. But like here's like a quote from him. It's really interesting because like the comic writer and artist John Byrne, he one time he compared this movie to Jack Kirby's comic book, like The Fourth World.
yeah,
And you know, like he was quoted in that in like a magazine, and then it was really cool because the director of Masters of the Universe ended up writing that magazine later, or writing to John Byrne in a X-Men issue, and saying like, as the director of Masters of the Universe, it was a pleasure to see that someone got it. Your comparison of the film to Kirby's New Gods was not far off.
yeah.
In fact, the storyline was greatly inspired by the classic Fantastic Four / Doctor Doom epics. So the new gods and a bit of Thor thrown in here and there. I intended the film to be a motion picture comic book, though it was a tough proposition to sell to the studio at the time. Comics are just, you know, for kids. They thought they would not allow me to hire Jack Kirby, who I desperately wanted to be a conceptual artist for the movie. I grew up with Kirby's comics. I've still got all the Marvels from the first issue of Fantastic Four and Spider-Man through the time Kirby left. And I had a great pleasure meeting him when he first moved to California. Since that time, I enjoyed the friendship of Jack and Roz and was lucky enough to spend many hours with Jack, hearing how he created the character and that one, this one, and that one, why a villain has to be even more powerful than the hero, and so on. Jack was a great communicator, and listening to him was always an education. You might be interested to know that I tried to dedicate Masters of the Universe to Jack Kirby in the closing credits, but the studio took that credit out. How does that change your view of this movie?
It doesn't. What it tells me is that it shouldn't have been a Masters of the Universe movie.
For sure. Right? For
And if
sure.
it wasn't that, so right, and then you do that. If it's not He-Man and it's not these other things, is this a much better movie?
It's just
Yeah.
a little boring movie.
It is boring, right? Like it's boring. Like it's how many times can they swap hands with the MacGuffin before you just lose count?
Well, does it have any coherent subplots, or is it just all straight plot?
Actually, honestly, I'm gonna go out there and say this is just like last week. The Dennis of 1987 would not agree with Dennis now, but I actually thought the subplot of Courtney Cox as a teenager who lost her parents and all she wanted in life was to have them return to her. I kind of thought her subplot was paid off more than the actual plot of the movie. Was it not?
Paid off in that they lampshaded it twice and then left it for the last 45 minutes for the very end. Yeah, sure.
I mean, it
But it was
paid
also
off.
like, if you could have fucking time traveled this whole time,
right.
like what are you doing?
That's what
Wilbur?
I'm
Like,
saying. It makes the whole movie make no freaking sense.
Like I had to rewatch that the last like 10 minutes. I caught that. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what were you doing this whole time? They had the stupid thing for a minute in the beginning.
They returned Julie to the Earth because the movie culminates in a battle on Eternia, like in the throne room again that you saw at the beginning of the movie. because it's the only part of Eternia other than the Nevada desert where people stand around and look at giant holograms.
No. Do you know where this is filmed?
I have no idea. I just guessed
Whittier,
Nevada desert.
California. Okay.
Whittier.
Huh? Okay.
Is it supposed to be
All right.
New Jersey?
No, it's supposed to be California.
Okay. It's not supposed to be New Jersey. She's gonna move to New Jersey. For some reason. Courtney Cox's character Julie has decided that she should leave high school before she graduates to go move
I feel like
to
you could do that
New Jersey. What's that?
I feel like you could do that in the 80s.
You would like. Why would you choose New Jersey instead of New York? Like you're so close.
A little bit loosey-goosey back in the day.
Yeah. Anyways, her plot though, it gets paid off in that like this beautiful thing where like Gwildor tells her, I don't have to just return you back to home. I can send you to any place in the past or future. And you're like, she's like, nah, I'm good, Gwildor. Yeah. And you're like, what? You fucking idiot. And then like, so her and her boyfriend start walking through the portal to say bye to He-Man and his whole crew after they defeated Skeletor. But by the way, the cop Lubbock's gonna stay there because
they got fresh air and women.
Why would I leave? In the 10 minutes.
How much time passed? Yeah.
I don't know how much time passed, but that guy picked up a hottie from Eternia
and like mail order bride.
Yeah. But anyways, as Courtney Cox is going in the portal, she turns around and yells out, like right as she gets cut off by the portal, no, Gwildor, wait, send me back to. And then like you find out that beautifully, like they got sent back in time a day before her parents died. And I'm so confused. It's the day of, yeah, but I'm so confused because like Ricky said, so they have access to time travel. So what prevents them from just fixing everything to begin with, other than story? It just completely negates the entire adventure, though, right? Any epic like meaningfulness to the story is betrayed by that notion. Yeah. But secondly, like
I was gonna say, I will use this now as my troll answer for worst time travel movie ever made. So.
it is right, but at the same time I was really happy for Julie that her parents got to live, like I was like, oh cool, at least you get your parents. Does that mean that He-Man's not gonna show up later, or he's still gonna show up in your future but you're not gonna be there because your parents are alive and so you're not gonna be able to help He-Man? Is it a time paradox, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
Did they create a time paradox?
Yeah, what kind of?
Only for Eternia, which explains why there was no sequel.
Yeah, well, really, what explains why there's no sequel is because Canon, the studio, went out of business. They actually were planned. I mean, also the movie.
Didn't the sequel get released as like Cyborg 2 or something, or parts of it, like B-roll footage?
The sequel was developed, and it's pretty nuts, dude. I read that they were gonna have a freaking
they're gonna do a Spider-Man movie, right?
They were gonna
they had the rights to Spider-Man, and
they had Cameron Spider-Man, right?
I don't remember Canon Spider-Man, but they were gonna freaking make a He-Man 2, and like it was gonna have a pro surfer replace Dolph Lundgren as He-Man, and part of the plot was going to be that He-Man comes back to Earth, because why not film it on Earth,
Right.
And he was going to come back to Earth and find out like Skeletor had conquered it or whatever. And so
because there's stupid time paradox.
Because you guys all watched the post-credit scene, right? Ricky, you didn't, did you?
No, there's a post-credit scene, man. Come on.
Skeletor pops out of a pool of whatever, pink juice, and he just yells, "I'll be back." And that's the end of the movie. That's the post-credit scene in that movie.
Wow.
So Skeletor's back in the sequel, and part of the premise of that movie is that He-Man will have to pretend to be a football quarterback, and you're like, what are you guys doing with He-Man?
Cocaine.
What
a
are you guys
shit
doing?
ton of cocaine.
What are you doing with He-Man, guys? I don't get it. I don't understand it. But
So
that is
wait, I want to address. So I was told a couple of people that I was going to be talking about this, and two of them had a very strong reaction around Ivan Drago or Dolph Lundgren
yeah.
being in the film, and pointed out that he had just come off what is it, Rocky IV,
Yeah.
where
Rocky
he
IV was
was
his
the
second
bad
movie
guy.
ever.
And then all of a sudden, you're casting like this guy who is in the cultural consciousness as the Soviet enemy as He-Man. And so it's like, I couldn't watch it for that. You know, it's like, so if I watched He-Man, the commies were winning.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
So it was just like, and my other friend said it's like psychic whiplash, right? Just seeing this guy, because you weren't used to seeing, it was almost like pro wrestling in the 80s. The same people played good guys. You didn't have actors sort of switching back and forth, playing both good guys and bad guys.
And the other thing to remember though is like, because I saw it in the interview, like Dolph Lundgren was like actually scared to take the role because like being offered a superhero role back then was not the sure thing that it is nowadays. You know what I mean? Like he knew to be scared of taking this role because, you know,
he got paid in Aquaman, so it comes around.
Well, and it wasn't until what Keaton and Batman really.
Yeah, like I mean, Christopher Reeve was seen as like the special case.
Yeah,
Christopher
but he still wasn't getting like leading man roles outside of
Superman. He wasn't getting a lot of big roles outside of that franchise. And honestly, Canon's other big failure was Superman 4. They made that also. Yeah. And so like there was a lot of movies that Canon made that just were really poor decisions in
I feel like Dolph Lundgren, he's not even the star of this movie though.
Right?
He has the least lines of any major character.
Like, what can you tell me about him as a character?
He's not very good at sword fighting, but he throws dudes real well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like. Good. I felt like that's why I connected with Julie's story so much. It pissed me off that like I was caring more about Julie and Kevin and their friend who owns the Guitar Center ripoff. Like all of those characters were more interesting than He-Man. And I'm like, what is going on with this movie? Like, why is the man himself being put in few scenes and barely saying anything meaningful? Like it hurts, man. It hurts. Like it wasn't the worst thing I've watched in years, but it's not great, man.
It's inconsistent. Right, and I think that's kind of it seems like it's 75% of a movie.
Yeah,
it's like they like it's good enough. Like I've seen this with the Mercenaries. You've got Beastman, all right, good, solid choice. You've got Karg, who looks like Jareth, the Goblin King's illegitimate son.
In fairness, though, Karg kind of looked cool.
I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm saying, all right, creative. You got
Karg is the one with the hair and the pirate hook, dude.
He looks stupid.
I thought he was cool looking.
The snake looking dude was the coolest.
He looked like something out of the Dark Crystal. He was scared of the Dark Crystal, right?
Sarod, who's basically a Bosk ripoff, and then Blade, who looks like he fell out of a fucking bondage store and grabbed some cutlery. Like, what the hell?
Do you know what though? You know what? Okay, I agree with you. When I was a kid, I was like, what the hell with these characters, right? But watching it yesterday, I was like, my man Blade's actually pretty impressive. Like I was watching what he was doing with the swords and the knives, and I got weirded out because there's a scene where he like stabs the knife, a real knife, into a desk or into a table that Kevin's up against, right next to him, and there was no cut. It didn't cut away to show, like how you show a different angle where the thing goes. Yeah. He actually did it in real time, right next to that actor's head. And I was like, hold on a second. This guy's a legit knife wielder, man. Like, I'm not like, well, you're not
like stunt people to do all the bad guys, right?
Well, that's what I found out. Dude was the weapons expert and fight choreographer on that movie. And he actually is the double for Skeletor in the final fight.
All right,
So that guy was
I got
actually
respect for Blade now.
Yeah,
that guy was making Dolph Lundgren look good, and Dolph even like said that to him, like, "You're the guy."
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what, Blade? When Blade cut open the chain link fence, I was like, that looked real, dude. I was like, I kind of like
cool.
Blade now.
I'll say
Everybody
the movie
else sucks.
was. It was definitely more violent than I thought it was. Like there was a lot of blood in that movie.
There was a lot of blood, and that was probably slipped in there after Stock and He-Man had gone down.
And it just kept Beastman bleeding for like half the movie.
Yeah, like I would be a little freaked out if I was a kid and just saw like Beastman murder a guy.
Well, he didn't murder the guy. The guy went to the hospital. Remember, we saw that.
Sure. The janitor.
You don't never want to know. I was like, why are you gonna say like that?
I know, right?
What
I don't
did they do to you, dude?
That janitor, and that poor school dance, by the way. The movie started with not Charlie, whatever, Julie and Kevin hanging out together in the auditorium for a sound check. By the way, this woman, as a reminder, she had decided to give up her life to move to New Jersey today. Her flight was tonight.
Oh, her house was packed. You saw that. They
Yes.
put that detail in.
How many things did Julie have scheduled on the night that she was going to go? My wife and I just kept saying, like, what time does she have to be at the airport?
She's got to get some chicken and ribs.
Yeah, she had to go. Keep listening. Keep listening.
Brave chicken and ribs sound check.
She had to go. She had to go hang out with Kevin for the sound check for his performance that she wasn't even gonna be there for. Like this, dude. You don't schedule your sound check on the night that your girlfriend is leaving you
dental
forever.
Surgery.
Forever. She's like, they're breaking up that night. These characters were so much more interesting than He-Man. What the hell?
See, what I'm hearing here is you got so bored that you started inventing more elaborate backstories for.
No, it was all presented in the movie. That was all presented. I didn't make any of that shit up. All of them got.
Yeah, but you're making up the motivation that didn't come through. Like these are all things that happen, and they seem insane when you list it out because the characters weren't reacting to them.
Yeah, it's weird. Also, why did Tila have a thong on the outside of her pants?
I don't think it was a thong, was it?
Both Tila and Man at Arms clearly did something to piss off the props department.
I didn't mind Man at Arms.
Man at Arms had Donald Trump's haircut, dude.
He looked fine.
He looked like a grandpa that wandered onto the set, and they're like, "Good enough."
Tila looked
Donald
funky.
Trump's haircut. What was that?
Tila looked a little weird, but
she had a giant metal thong going up her butt on the outside of her spandex gray.
She looks like she just come from Jazzercise too.
She does. Well, she was wearing a headband, right? Yeah, she was. She was wearing a headband.
They got rid of the snake imagery that the action figure had and replaced it with whatever that was.
Tila looked stupid, but God bless her and Man at Arms, also better characters than He-Man. They were though, right?
They were.
I really like
marginally.
I like learning that Eternians had evolved to the point where, like, veganism was normal, but Man at Arms
was a shock. But he knew what flesh tasted like.
Yeah, but Man at Arms is old enough to be like, no, I've had meat before, bro, and it's delicious. Like all of these characters got more moments than He-Man.
Tell me something about Tila that you learned about her backstory.
She loves her dad.
And
she thinks that her dad eats too much and he needs to cut down on that because she obviously cares about her dad. That's still more than I got from He-Man, bro. Still more.
And now Gwildor is looking better and better.
No, that cracked me up though, because I learned today that She-Ra, the other popular character that's a spinoff of He-Man, she was actually supposed to be in this movie, but they decided that they already had a strong female character in Tila. And I'm like, whoa, bro.
You only get one.
You thought Tila was your strong female character? Wow, that is terrible. That's terrible. Courtney Cox's character was a stronger female character than
Yeah.
Tila. And I don't have no Courtney Cox He-Man toy. That's stupid.
Dude, how were the toys selling for this one? Maybe not.
I
No.
don't remember there being. I mean, I read that they made toys for this, but I don't remember ever seeing.
You got to understand. Here's how the timeline went down. He-Man was peaking on TV, right? Or I mean, it had already peaked. It was going kind of down. So the movie comes out, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna see a movie of our favorite character. Oh shit, that ain't He-Man. And so then the toys hit the shelves. I don't know. I don't remember a lot of people buying them. And then shortly after that, like I think a year later, a brand new He-Man cartoon rebooting the universe. They just given up on the movie as a property to build off of entirely. And there was like, yeah, it's like a year or two later, they were rebooting He-Man again. And that also was pretty dumb. And so like Mattel, just one decision after another, just kind of drove this franchise into the ground, and it's sad, and it's a really it's a pain point for a lot of people who grew up with He-Man.
My only He-Man experience is when we watched the reboot. It was last year.
The one that Kevin Smith ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think he ruined it. Honestly,
no,
I liked it.
That was actually the joke I was going to open with. Is hey nerds, before Kevin Smith ruined it, there's this thing.
I liked it. I just didn't love it. Is the problem with that one.
We're green lighting here at Denex Media, He-Man live action movie reboot. Who we casting?
I think they've already cast one, by the way.
There's been a rumored one for a while, right?
Go look it up. He-Man cast. I don't remember who it is.
Noah Centino was supposed to do it, but I thought he dropped out recently.
I don't know. I don't even know who that is. I'm too old.
I'm
too old. Yeah.
I mean, the only way a new one works, though, is what you were saying, Dennis, is if they lean into that sort of Jack Kirby-esque.
It is set to debut on Netflix with Kyle Allen cast as He-Man / Prince Adam.
There you go.
Well, at least we're going to get Prince Adam, too. I mean...
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It actually makes me pretty happy to hear that it's on Netflix, because I have learned over the years of Comic-Con that the head of animation at Netflix, his favorite cartoon of all time is He-Man. And that's not even like joking. Like he has all the He-Man figures, like of all of them ever. He is a giant He-Man fan. And so like he has actually gone as a guest to like the PowerCon conventions several years now, because like he's so deeply involved with that Kevin Smith show and all the other He-Man properties.
And they did right by She-Ra, right? So
so I'm saying you couldn't find a better home for me than Netflix for as far as He-Man goes. I'm excited to see, because they actually give a shit about He-Man. And that they're trying to build a He-Man universe on that platform. They care more.
Back
to what we were saying earlier, you have to have people who understand the fandoms to really make these things.
Truth.
I know that there's a kid skewed. There's 2 He-Man shows right on Netflix. The Kevin Smith one, and there's the kid one.
Yeah.
Do kids care about He-Man, or
do your kids, Brian?
No, just because they haven't found it. I mean, I think it's harder today to get these brands developed for kids, because they're going to gravitate to 1 or 2 streaming platforms and just sort of cycle through whatever that streaming platform has. So on Netflix, they watch She-Ra. So, and to that extent, they care about He-Man. They'll rewatch that. They'll rewatch Avatar.
Rad? Isn't that rad that your children know She-Ra before He-Man?
Yeah.
And She-Ra's story was pretty badass.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's cool. I think seeing changes, like, you know what? Like, honestly, I remember the show back in the 80s. Her show was better.
It was
a better show. And so,
better action figures, too.
No, it did not have better action figures.
I didn't like all the He-Mans were that same, right? That was one of the
I love
things,
that,
right?
dude.
That's supposed.
Except what was the one that wasn't like that? Do you remember?
Well, there's Moculok.
Well, no, Ram Man didn't have
Ram
the body.
Man was the big one.
Because he was just the weird spring-loaded feet.
But there's been a handful of them that don't use the He-Man body, but it's
Yeah.
It's very rare, but I love the charm of that body so much. Like so. It's a very special place in my heart where I'm like, yeah, I remember that time where I loved holding my naked blonde man with a loincloth figure, and he's just he looks like he's constantly greased up because of the shininess of the plastic.
Can we talk about how Dolph also looked like he'd been greased up the entire time?
Man was oily.
Dude, the set when they were filming in the set, apparently it was 110 degrees, no air conditioning, in the throne room. So
before or after they lost their funding?
Definitely after, for sure. But yeah, he was sweating constantly in that movie, dude. It was weird, man. Like,
it was funny because like when he finally says the thing,
I have the power.
It didn't even have any meaning. Like, you know what? The bigger plot of this movie is like, what? Skeletor captured Capsule Grayskull so that he can stand in front of the eye of Grayskull when it opens and bestows godlike powers. I'm like, what the fuck is that? What is that story? I don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
And so, like, if he's granting the power, then what power does He-Man have when he says, I have the power? I'm like, I don't get it. What are you talking about? You're supposed to put your sword up in the air and get it from the sword. I am confused by all of this.
Back to the opening, though. I appreciate that they had history.
A completely superfluous character.
Yeah. But all of this said, all of me complaining, here's the thing I think is funny is like, how we were talking about how different things are picked up on by different generations, right? Like, so now knowing that John Byrne watched He-Man or Masters of the Universe, and instantly recognized the Jack Kirby influence. And then the director's like, yeah, bro, that was me. That's cool to know that director was making this movie for a very specific generation and audience. That's fucked up to know that it wasn't the target demographic. You know what I mean? They let a director make a movie that actually touched the hearts of people that were not supposed to be touched. And that's weird. That's so weird to me that he took the He-Man license and just made this movie that's like apparently a love letter to Jack Kirby. But what? Jack Kirby had nothing to do with He-Man, dude. Like, it doesn't. That's so weird. And so I feel conflicted, and they're like, I kind of love the movie.
Disrespectful, right?
It's like it's the inverse of Catwoman, right?
But also respectful, right? Of something that's not He-Man. Yeah, right. And I kind of see it though. Like when I read that, I was like, I do. Like, there was something really charming about that throne room and about the attorney and stuff. Like, I wish there was more than like 5 minutes of it in the movie. And that shit is a love letter.
The other thing I got off of those sets was it seems like they very much wanted to be like the Flash Gordon movie. In a way, and I remember that movie already on the being list, a bit of a cult. Yeah, I know, but just like the sort of the over-the-top acting, at least from the bad guys. Like, again, Frank Langella is in an entirely different film.
Frank Langella was really selling the shit out of Skeletor. Okay?
Very Shakespearean Skeletor.
I love Frank Langella as Skeletor, and it brings me so much joy to know this is his favorite role that he ever did.
He did it for his kid.
He did it for his kid, which he also in the story tells that when his kid finally got to see it at a special screening, he slept through the whole movie.
Man,
that's funny, right? But no, like,
that's kids.
There are things I like about this, but I don't know, Ricky, if it's the inverse Catwoman, like you were asking earlier. Like, I just think it's worse than Catwoman, like by a lot. It's a lot worse. I would give it like a 4 or a 5, man. It's just not. It's
not even amusing.
It's just not entertaining. Is the problem?
It's a slog. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I liked the things I was looking at. I just didn't like experiencing the story that they were giving me, except for Courtney Cox's story, which is pretty cool. Especially when Meg Foster and her creepy real eyes. Those are her real eyes, by the way.
Yeah, that's why they cast her.
As Evelyn, like, seduces Julie by pretending to be her dead mother.
The dead mom Jedi chick, yeah.
My wife was so funny at that moment when the ghost appears in the alley. because she's like, "What? We're doing ghosts now? What are the ghosts in this movie?" And then she realized, she's like, "Oh, it's Evelyn. Okay, got it." But the funniest part about that scene is when Evelyn convinces Julie to leave. At that very moment, Kevin is wrestling a cop for the control of a gun. Your boyfriend is legit fist fighting a police officer to get a gun out of his hands.
But then she
she's
walks
like-
in and she's
and
like,
she
"Sup?"
just leaves. She leaves. She just walks out, dude.
It's a perfect
Takes
time.
the key.
And then she comes back in a few minutes later, and like they've worked it out miraculously without anybody getting shot. I kept thinking somebody was gonna get shot, and then what happens is that she looks at everybody in the room, and she snatches the key and runs, dude. Like, if that wasn't the best part of the whole damn movie, I don't know what was, man. That shit was hilarious.
Also, the police in the town suck ass.
They're the worst police
They're shitty to
ever.
their colleague too.
Guys, they just like, I don't know, they just like stood around and let this one guy in a leather jacket go and do all the police work for the night. And then he'll just call them when he needs their help. And they just stand around and wait. They just stand around and wait for him to say something. But he doesn't, because he gets sucked into a portal to Eternia.
Wait, can we also talk about, I think, well, yes, the Courtney Cox stealing the key for her dead mother was a great. I think my favorite scene was when they get captured, when they're all on the rooftop and you just see Skeletor rising in the background,
So good.
creeping on them.
Okay, you know what?
That's
That
a
was
cool-
pretty
that was a cool
freaking
ship,
awesome.
though.
That was pretty awesome.
Like I wanted to see those ships do some cool shit.
Yeah, it was
That
clear
wasn't-
they were like, "Ooh, we got to sell some vehicles too."
You know why that was really cool? Because that was a practical effect, man. That dude was on a crane and they were lifting him up, and that was pretty rad. Yeah, I'd still give it to Julie snatching the thing. That was the one moment in that whole movie that just brought me pure joy, because it just was so ridiculous. But Frank
Not-
Langella will get a second place for me in that
Not
movie.
the laser whipping.
The laser whipping just seemed a little too sexy. Like, I liked watching him jerk around,
Blade.
like pretending to get whipped. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
The delay.
Dolph Lundgren.
Ah.
How do you do a delay when you animate it, bro? Like, I don't like, you animate it in post. How is there a delay? It's like the animator just hated Dolph Lundgren or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he can fix it. Like,
He didn't get his last two paychecks. Like, all right, screw it.
but he gets lashed by a laser whip that's drawn in post. Yeah. I mean, guys, if you're looking for some homoerotic like stuff to watch on TV,
Find something else.
I'm sure in 2023 there's better
Yeah.
things that you can easily find. But like, if you want to see what Courtney Cox looked like before plastic surgery, I guess that's cool too. I don't
Or
know.
some
What are the-
veteran actors collecting a paycheck and
Yeah,
showing
you
everyone
want to
else
see
how it's
Frank
done.
Langella never show his actual face in that whole movie.
Billy Barty too, as Gwildor.
Billy Barty. Ricky, do you know who Billy Barty was?
Nope.
The leader of the Lollipop Guild.
I feel like that's become more problematic in 2023.
Yeah, he is, right? He's the leader of the Lollipop
Yeah.
Guild, right? It's the same
He's
guy?
also in Time Bandits and a whole bunch of things. Probably one of the most famous actors of his generation.
Right? Like, it's crazy. Like, I had to look him up because when I was watching the movie, I'm like, well, you're not Warwick Davis. I can tell you that right now, because you're not as good, but you are familiar, sir. And I looked him up and I was like, oh
he's
my
in
God,
everything. Yeah.
it's the guy from one of the most OG movies of all time.
You got mud in my gill slits.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell was that?
You know, like, it is another thing that the kid
Scary.
version of me would never appreciate is like, I could actually be okay with Gwildor as a character, knowing they wanted to introduce new things into the universe. Seeing this character, it's like, it's kind of cool, but like, Gwildor is kind of an idiot. I just, yeah.
If you're gonna replace Orko, why replace him with the same thing?
Yeah, right.
But there, I don't think he is. Orko, I feel, is a very different. They're both like dumb, but
They're dumb but capable characters.
They're the
That's-
Jar
yes,
Jars.
yeah.
Yeah, they're the same character basically. They honestly they didn't include Battle Cat and Orko because money. That's
Yeah,
why
no.
they just didn't do it. Like
That's
they had a
fucking obvious.
bunch of characters planned to be included in the movie when it first was in production, or in pre-production. But they're like, nope, this is getting cut. This is getting cut. You know who stays? Freaking Blade.
I mean,
It's because he's already
that's all
going to
you
be there.
need, right? Is not
Yeah.
Blade, but Skeletor and He-Man. There's a movie in there with just the two of them, right?
So I think you need Evil Lyn too for that Starscream like undermining.
I think
Swing
Evelyn
element.
was fantastic because I got Evelyn from her. I don't know that I
She
got
was the most accurate. I felt.
she was pretty damn accurate. Like she just didn't
I mean,
do
she
a
wasn't
lot
bright
other-
yellow, but
she didn't do a lot other than be incredibly loyal to Skeletor, which is her character. So okay, I guess.
so
Yeah,
I
we're good.
read that she'd had trouble in a lot of the scenes because the costume she was wearing was like 55 or 60 pounds.
It was pretty intense.
Yeah.
That was a lot of metal on those people, especially Blade and her. Yeah, like, yeah, I see that. I get it. I'm not gonna knock her. I think we went through all the characters, and I think we're in agreement that Julie was the best, followed by Blade, and He-Man all the way down at the bottom, just below Lubbock.
Garbage.
He-Man was terrible, and I'm not saying that's Dolph Lundgren's fault, but
No.
I'm not saying that's Dolph Lundgren's fault. I'm just
That's fair.
saying there's a lot of contributing people that go into making a movie, and I think every single one of them should feel responsible for how He-Man came out in the He-Man movie. Yeah, that's fair,
You
right?
can buy movie versions of the toys from
Yeah, cashing in nostalgia. Like
Yeah.
Super 7.
exclusives.
from
Super 7.
Entertainment Earth.
Super 7 made them, yeah, and they look pretty good,
They're
but
pretty
like,
good.
but it's like, why do you want toys of this?
Can
you
I
know?
have my Lubick toy?
But I guess people feel like that's in that sense, it has to have been considered a cult classic.
I
right?
mean, it
Because
has the stupid.
people made merchandise of
device.
it after all this time. What's that?
It has the keyboard music machine, portal
the
maker,
key.
The cosmic
The
key.
key.
the cosmic.
It's a
key.
good thing that Kevin had perfect pitch, and that was,
Right, they established that.
Well, oh my
did.
god!
They
It's
did.
Grading 101.
When
That's what I'm saying. Gave you more characteristics of those two
when
than any Eternian.
when they're in Wildor's apartment, he's like, "Let me show you this invention." He turns it on. By the way, we can't turn it on because they're gonna locate us if we do. It's like, what? Why'd you turn it on, dude?
That's
Oh
yeah,
man,
yep. That's that movie.
I
Well,
loved it.
we
though.
wa-
I love bits of it. There's an 80s lens and charm to it that I think.
Why is it 75% of a movie?
Yeah, like I said, like the fact that it's all practical effects is really cool to me. Like that has that charmed me just on that. But
Yeah.
then also like, it just I don't know. For some reason, I decided I had to find something I liked, and I decided it was Courtney Cox's story, and that's what it is. It's just that's the best part of the movie for me.
All right,
Yeah.
give her an
It is
Oscar.
what it is.
It's weird. I didn't go in. I went in saying, "Oh yeah, this is Courtney Cox's first movie." That's so weird.
You can see why she got additional roles.
Yeah, she
She
acted
played a good friend in this movie.
She
Made a
did.
career out of playing another one. So
Wow. Is that you
Oof.
want that to be the last line of the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.
peace
No,
out, guys.
I know I do want to thank Brian and Ricky for nerding out. I'm not going to end on that. Come on. We'll be back next week. We'll have another one of these wonderful movies from our past, or not Ricky's past, but mine and people like Brian's past. And we'll be back to discuss super news and all that other stuff too. Thanks to our patrons for supporting our growth, and to our audience for tuning in. If you had fun, you know what to do. How can they smash that like button, Ricky?
On YouTube, like and subscribe, and then
Oh, I tried to set you up like Frank.
I'm not. Yeah, that wasn't my job.
And maybe like how He-Man smashes people with his gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like and subscribe. Check us out on Patreon. After show coming up. Brian, you joining us?
Yeah, I'll join for a bit.
Okay, we're probably just gonna play Snap and then go watch other stuff. All right, cool. We're gonna do that moments from now, and patrons are welcome to join us. And otherwise, this will be on. You'll be available next week. All right, guys. See you next time on Gen Excelsior, True Believers. Enough said.
See you guys.